Cahill, please.
Minister, the first thing at the start, I just want to state that I am a director of one of the private Greyhound tracks, so I would have a distinct interest in this bill. First thing I want to say is this bill is long overdue, and it's something that the industry has been looking for a long time. We are in general support of the bill, but we will have amendments to make at committee stage. I suppose the composition of the board and maybe stud keepers and various other aspects of the bill that we will put amendments to. But I think the general purpose of the bill is where we want to go. I suppose the reputation of the industry and the reputation of the greyhound industry has taken a battering over the last number of years. And I think it's absolutely essential that this bill is robust enough that people who are found guilty of offences as regards altering the performance of greyhounds are able to be convicted and banned for periods of time. And we've had a number of highly publicised cases where there have been dogs found with carrying prohibited substances, and unfortunately sanctions haven't been able to be imposed on either the dog or their trainer I think it's absolutely essential going forward that this bill will allow Born-a-Gon, or whatever name it will be after the passing of this bill, that will allow proper sanctions to be taken against people who breached the rules of racing. I think that is absolutely essential. It's essential to rebuild the reputation. And I think, for people going greyhound racing and for the owner of dogs, he wants a level playing field, and he wants to ensure that all dogs are running on their merits and that everyone has a fair and equal chance. And I think that has definitely been shaken to the foundations over the last number of years with a lot of highly publicised cases. And I think we are confident that this bill will enable that to happen, and I think that's absolutely essential. I suppose we had a Greyhound strike, the Greyhound strike in Shelbourne Park in the recent past, and the much publicised sale of Harold's Cross. And I think the sale of Harold's Cross allows the industry to get on a new playing pitch, and they have been able to relieve themselves of the debt that was hanging over the board. And I think it's important to state that the debt that was hanging over the board wasn't incurred by the present board, and it was a historical debt. And I think it was essential, if the industry was to move forward, that debt had to be removed. And unfortunately, Harold's Cross was a very old stadium and had, a lot of very, sentimental attachment for a lot of the Dublin Greyhound owners, and they were extremely attached. And it was their Greyhound stadium. But I think, for the industry, and it was a hard decision for the board to take, I think it was the correct one for the industry. I think the barometer of the board will be the focus on prize money, and with no debt levels to carry, it's absolutely essential that increased prize money is available for racing. It has to be, we have to make it. No one that keeps greyhounds ever expects to make a fortune, but it has to be made attractive that you are able to win a couple of races, that at least it will pay some of the bills that come with the owning of greyhounds. And I think an increase in prize money is absolutely essential to make it attractive for syndicates and ordinary dog owners to stay in the business. And I think to attract syndicates into the industry is extremely important, because attendances have been falling, and we have to try and reverse that trend. And to reverse that trend, I think it is very important to keep the facilities up to a modern standard. And we have to make greyhound racing attractive as a night out, and I think for syndicates to be involved is essential. And the level of prize money, while it will never make anyone a millionaire, if it is able to go some way towards defending the costs of training greyhounds, this will give help to the overall industry and attendances. Tote pools and the operation of the tote. And I think it is essential, that tote pools are attractive to the ordinary punter, and that will attract people through the gates as well. And I think that has slipped in the recent past there was a very successful Pick 6 and Pick 7 operating in Shelburne for a number of years, where the pools, did increase over a number of weeks to an attractive level. And that it enticed people not only to go to Shelburne on a Saturday night, but to go to the other tracks around the country, where they had the opportunity to bet into the Dublin pool. We have to get to that stage again and make tote pools attractive. That people will say, yeah, there's a good pot in Shelburne. We'll go to the dogs and invest a few euros in the tote and have a good night's entertainment. So I think that's absolutely essential if we are to attract people back through the turnstiles. SIS, I suppose, is a new phenomenon for Irish greyhound racing, and now it is operating in a number of tracks around the country. I think this can be a revenue source for the greyhound industry, and again, the strict regulation of greyhound racing will be absolutely essential to ensure that SIS keeps coming to Irish greyhound tracks and hopefully will expand. It's an income stream that can benefit us, and hopefully more and more tracks will run it. And it will also, I suppose, create a market for the lower grading dog, the dog that has, I suppose, can virtually worthless over a number of years, and that can put a good base in the price of greyhounds. And there will be a pool of dogs have to be available at all those tracks for SIS racing. And I've seen it, at the sales at my own track in the last couple of sales, where the lower grading dog has increased in value very significantly. That's a very welcome development for the breeder as well. And greyhound breeders are an essential part of the essential cog in the whole industry. And again, we have to try and put them in a position where they at least have prospects of breaking even. And unfortunately, every dog isn't an open class dog, and the A5 and A6 dogs have to be able to be sold as well. So I think the SIS and the pool of dogs for racing for those meetings has a huge role to play. Track bookmakers, and this is an issue I've raised, but for horse racing and dog racing, track bookmakers are an endangered species, and the number of track bookmakers at greyhound meetings around the country have dropped to very, very low levels. I think we have to do something to ensure that track bookmakers survive at our race tracks. Like, even if you went out to Shelburne tonight, there would only be one bookmaker operating on the rails. Where on a Wednesday night 10 or 12 years ago, you would have probably a dozen bookmakers there. So again, this has to be encouraged, and the atmosphere and the atmosphere that track bookmakers bring to the industry cannot be replaced. And I think you'd see it on Derby Fine Night in Shelburne. The roar of the bookmakers and the atmosphere they create is absolutely essential. So it is something that we have to try and protect. And it's essential that track bookmakers are encouraged to stay in business. The Minister said there in his speech, the industry receives and will receive 16.8 million of exchequer funding this year. As he said, it does protect a lot of jobs, and a lot of jobs in rural Ireland, and an industry that is predominantly a rural-based industry. I think we have to recognise going forward that the welfare of greyhounds has to be catered for by the industry. And I think there's a general acceptance by all in the industry that the welfare of greyhounds and the traceability of greyhounds has to improve, and I think this will happen. And if a portion of that money is as of now being devoted to the welfare of greyhounds, and that has to continue and hopefully be improved. And the rehousing of greyhounds is something that's that can be done, and is done in other countries around the world. And they actually do make extremely good pets in their later life. So I think a lot of work can be done there, but it will take a bit of finance. And I think we are getting the industry is getting a substantial amount of money from the exchequer, and I think it owes it to the taxpayer to ensure that the welfare of greyhounds is protected. So in general, this industry, we have to bring it back to its former glory, and I think this bill will go a long ways towards restoring the reputation of the industry. and to get young people involved in an industry, and to keep the breeders on side. I said it's essential that proper regulation is seen to be in place, and that regulation can be enforced. And anyone that breaches the regulation suffers the wrath of that. And I think that is absolutely essential, and I think it's probably what the industry out there is waiting so anxiously for with this bill. And I'm by reading the bill, and I'm not a legal expert, it does clearly strengthen the position of the board, and that was absolutely essential, because it was clear from a number of cases there in the recent past that the board hadn't the ability to carry through in what they wanted to do in a number of individual cases. So, Count Corla, as I said, Fianna Fáil are in general support of this bill. We will be bringing amendments to it at committee stage, and hopefully that this bill, when passed, will do what we hope it will do, and restore the reputation of the industry and put the industry on a proper footing going forward.